Hey guys, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome back to my channel. I'm super happy to be here in front of the camera with you today. I have been meaning to put out a video for the last couple of weeks, and to be honest, I've probably filmed at least the beginning of at least 3 or 4 videos. But what happens for me in the springtime is because most of what I'm filming is work that I'm doing, is I get lost in the projects. I'll turn on the camera, I'll start filming, I'll do my intro, and then I start doing the project and I forget that the camera is even there. So today I thought I would update you on everything that we have going on, introduce you to some of the new animals we have here on the farm, just give you sort of a general Little Mountain Ranch update. I come to you today from my barn and I wanted to introduce you to a couple of the new animals that we have here. So this little rabbit, her name is Gorgeous, and she is quite gorgeous, if I do say so myself. She is Matthew's doe. We do have a buck who has been living in the barn. A buck is a male rabbit who's been living in the barn for the last couple of years. He just free ranges around in the barn. And Matt has been begging me and pleading to be able to get another doe. We used to breed rabbits a couple of years ago. And about 4 weeks ago, I relented. And so now she is now part of the Little Mountain Ranch family, and she'll be going outside. We're going to build her a portable rabbit run so that she can get out onto the fresh grass and be out in the sunshine. I really don't like keeping my animals in the barn if I can help it. But when they're young like this, and when it is still really cold at night, I am very grateful that I have the barn to keep them in. This pen back here is where we keep our calves at night and then keep them out with their moms during the day. I'm going to prop this door open so that we have light in here. We are getting piglets actually in a couple of days, and this will be their pen. They're only 7 weeks old, so they will live in here for a little bit until we get the outside pen built, and I'm going to show you what we're doing out in the barnyard in just a couple of minutes. So again, they will be in here for a few weeks, and then they will be outside, and as soon as the pastures are ready, they will be out on pasture. And this setup you can see behind me here, I'll show you it up a little closer in just a second. This is where we grow out our chickens. This is a little Cornish cross, and we have quite a few of them. And when we are raising up, there you go, sweetie, our meat birds, we keep them in a water trough like this. This works really well. It protects them from draft. Drafts is a real killer of young birds. And then we have 2 heat lights that are hung in it. And once they get a little bit bigger than they are now, maybe another week, then we move them into this setup. This just has cardboard around it here. And this giant box has lights in underneath it. It kind of acts like a mother hen, and the chicks can get under there to keep warm. And then once they grow out of that, then we take everything out of here and they get to just be in this big space. It's fenced on this side with chicken wire on the bottom so that they can't get out. And then once they grow out of this, then they get to go outside into the chicken tractors on pasture. I did just hatch out the other day a couple of laying hens, just barnyard mix from my flock. Isn't this one so cute? Look at the stripes. Can you see the stripes on her? Looks to me like she is a Partridge Chanticleer cross. Such a cutie. I used to start brooding my meat birds in the house, but honestly, the smell of these guys within just a couple of days, even if you're cleaning out their pen every day, is just awful. So it's been way better for us to be able to set them up out here in the barn. So one of the projects that we have actually been doing is, I don't know if you guys remember this from last year, but this was our pig pen, this area that you can see behind me here. And what we have been doing is removing all of these fences. My older boys, my 16 and 20-year-olds, have been taking out this fence, and then Dan has come with the tractor and pulled all of the posts out. So the plan for this space, I wonder if I can back this up so that you can see a little better. There, that's hopefully better. Hopefully you can get a better perspective of the size of this space. But what we're wanting to do here, sorry about my rooster, is we're going to make a couple of smaller pens with gates in between them so that we can rotate the pigs through. The way that we're designing these pens is basically to be like Fort Knox, so that they can hold pigs, they can hold goats, they can hold cows if we need to, any animal that we want to put in a pen, in a smaller pen that's up close to the barn. We want to make sure that these fences can hold them. So we'll be using cattle panels and 2x12s. And then down at this flat space that's down below here, you can see that one fence line there. We are going to make a small riding arena for the kids. I have a couple of my girls who are really into horses, and we want them to have a smaller space where they can work with the horses so it's safer. We're also going to be framing the bottom of it with 2x12s so that we can make a skating rink there for the kids in the winter. It's the only flat space we have on our entire property. Our property is pretty much sloped all the way up to the top of our little mountain. So that's why we decided to use that space down there. Over in this space, this used to be fenced all the way across right here. So we've removed that fence and we're going to be moving the fence up. We're trying to get as much hay land as we possibly can. So every even quarter acre of land that we can convert into hay, that is the goal. So that's the space. In behind there, you can see my greenhouse frame, and I'll bring you over there in just a sec and fill you in on what's happening with that. But Dan is using the grader you can see in the back to level all of this land out. I cannot tell you how good it feels to be getting all of this work done. We've been here for 4 years now, and these fence lines we have been wanting to move that entire time. And this year is the year it gets to be done. It just opens it up so much more. We have also taken down a fence line that separates our two hay fields. It made sense for the people that were here before because they had 2,000 acres of land to have a whole bunch of cross fencing. But for us, we have about 30 acres or so in meadow. It just didn't make sense to have that cross fence there. If we do want to rotate around our cows after the hay's off, then we will just use electric wire. This is my new greenhouse. We have the frame all up. We are having to get some new 2x12s for the base to go around the base of it because the ones that came with this were pretty rotted. So we needed to buy some new ones, which we'll be doing tomorrow. Hopefully by Wednesday, this will be all ready to plant in, which is beyond exciting. I'm going to take you up to my greenhouse in a minute and you're going to see why this is almost a requirement at this point. We put this gate here because we're going to be fencing around this just so that there's not any risk of any animals getting in to the greenhouse, wrecking it, or destroying the plants that are in there. Pigs can be brutal. If they do get out of a pen, they can destroy a garden in a matter of minutes, and the cows as well, of course. So this will be fenced all the way around here. And then we have this gate so that we can drive the tractor in to bring amendments in, to till it, or whatever else we're wanting to do with it. We've also made this roadway to go down and be able to drive up into this side as well. Dan's going to build double doors on both sides of this greenhouse. At least that's the plan at this point. And he has built up this road to come up here. So we're actually going to be tilling out both sides of this and putting mounded beds. And I'm probably going to plant squash in this space. I figure I may as well use every square inch of space that I have. Okay, to give you some perspective, this area here is what I called the rainbow garden last year. I had it hilled so it was kind of like a rainbow going up like that, and I had my brassicas planted in here. But I got down to extend it out, so to plow way, way, way down here because I needed the extra space for the amount of cauliflower and broccoli that I want to grow this year. And then above this space is the forest garden, and that has those 30, I think they're about 30 to 40 feet beds. That is my perennial garden. So I have fruit trees and lots of different berry bushes, raspberries and strawberries planted in there. Trying to do a garden tour when you're in a zone 3B at the beginning of May is a little bit discouraging compared with the people that are in zone 5 and up because they're already planting out. And I won't be planting out for another couple of weeks. But that being said, there's still a lot that is coming up in here. It's hard to imagine this looking like the jungle it looked last year, but I have faith. It's only another probably 6 weeks and that's going to be completely full and looking beautiful. One of the big changes that I have made in my garden this year is what you can see behind me here. I've decided to incorporate not a lot, but a little bit of landscape fabric into my garden. My garden is a pretty good size. I think it's around 6,000 square feet or something like that. And the amount of weeding that I have to do in this garden is obscene. So I'm always battling grass and everything else. So I decided to use some landscape fabric, and this has, I think it's a 12-year life, combined with old hay mulch, which I've always used in my garden and has always worked really well for me to get our weeding at least cut down by half, because we literally spend hours every day in our garden weeding. And because it's so much bigger this year than it was last year, and basically my goal is to be producing food, not weeds, I decided to incorporate this. I have right now 3 100-foot rows that have the landscape fabric in them, and I'm not sure how many more I'm going to do, but I'm also going to use this in my greenhouse as well. All right, over to the greenhouse. I'll show you what I've got going on in there. Oh, before I do that though, I do want to share with you some of the herbs that I have growing that are perennial herbs here in a Zone 3B. Someone was asking me about that. These are chives. These grow really, really well, and they'll come back for you year after year. They're really hardy. This is mint, and mint will grow really, really well in a Zone 3B without any issues, but you do want to be careful with mint because it can be super invasive. I do find that a lot of plants that people say are invasive in a warmer zone, so say like a Zone 5 like mint, doesn't seem to be as invasive in a northern climate. Nothing really does. I have mint planted here, and it's definitely spread since I planted it a couple years ago, but not so much that I would consider it a huge problem. Tarragon grows extremely well in a northern climate. This will get absolutely huge, and you can harvest off of this all summer. It's one of my favorite herbs. This teeny tiny little plant right here, this is oregano, and oregano also grows really well here in the north. I actually think that I need to relocate this though to a sunnier location because it doesn't do as well here. I get shade here in the morning, so I think I'll probably move this out to the forest garden later on. I don't know if horseradish is considered an herb or not, but it does also grow really well. Oftentimes it will start to shoot up like this about 3 weeks too early. It gets killed by the frost at the top, and then it comes back again when it starts warming up again. So this I've not had a problem with. And I have planted a whole bunch of new herbs to try. Some of them are perennial and some are annual, but I'll talk more about those probably, once I actually get them out into the garden. All right, now we are in my little greenhouse. This greenhouse is, I think it's about 13 by 8, somewhere in that range for measurements. Dan and I built this a couple of years ago, and it has worked really, really well for me for starting my seeds. And I can usually grow about 30 tomato plants and maybe 15 pepper plants in here in the summertime. But I have outgrown it as far as the amount of food that I'm producing. I have close to 3,000 seedlings in this greenhouse, and it is definitely more than it can handle. And working in here is pretty difficult because it's so crammed. I'm not complaining, I'm super grateful for it, but I am looking forward to being able to transfer some of this out into my larger greenhouse. I know that a lot of people in a lot of different areas around North America ended up with a very cold spring this year, and it impacted everybody's seedlings, so you don't have to feel bad if you ended up with issues as well. One of the issues, and I've talked about this in other videos, is that you'll get purple happening on a lot of your seedlings. Mine are starting to look a lot better, and all the new stuff that's coming is nice and green. These paper pots here, I'll link a video down below to a friend of mine who does these, and that's where I learned how to make them. These are super convenient, easy to make, and free and biodegradable. One of the other things that I use for potting up are these biodegradable, compostable cups. I love using these. They're super, super easy to use. I reused actually a lot of the ones that I used last year, but they are fantastic. This little tomato is looking so healthy. Look at how nice and green that is. That makes me so happy. It was a little bit discouraging this year with having everything have such a hard start, but I'll show you some of the things that I have growing in here. I've potted up most of my brassicas. One of the things about potting up, and this is not something to be alarmed about, but when you do pot up, they'll look super pathetic for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden they'll just look nice and healthy like these ones. Their stems will straighten out and they'll look beautiful again. So don't get discouraged if they look terrible. These ones are a little purple cabbage, abundance kale, my absolute favorite kale. The thing I love about this kale is the leaves are really tender. So it's just about like a lettuce, but it has that kale flavor. Love these so much. It's best to wait until about 3 to 4 weeks before you're going to be planting out, before you start squash, because they're huge and they're super vigorous. And the other thing is that their stems are quite fragile. So if you let this huge giant plant grow and then you go try to move it out into your garden, chances are you're going to break off all that extra growth anyway. So you're better off to have a smaller plant, move it out, and then let it grow out in the garden. I'm going to try a couple of honeydews. These ones are going to be going in the greenhouse. There's a jelly melon over here. Patty pan squash. I'm so excited about these. These are Queensland Blues. One of my favorite pumpkins, just absolutely beautiful, excellent storage pumpkin. And these were seeds that I had last year, and when I opened up the package, they were molded. So I tried to plant them and every single one came up. So that's really exciting. I'm gonna have to split these up a little bit later today. Pickling cucumbers, I have about 100 of these planted. And these are California peppers. These ones are called red bull's horn peppers, a little bit smaller. I'm gonna have to get these potted up actually. I got these potted up the other day, and as you can see, they're already looking bigger and healthier than these little guys in here. Last night was the first night that I left everything uncovered in here and just left the plug-in heaters. I'm gonna still be using plug-in heaters probably for the next week at least, especially now that all of my squash are in there because they're so sensitive to frost. A couple of years ago, I had some of them against the wall and it got really cold and I ended up losing them to the cold, which was not fun, so I don't want to do that again. Okay guys, I am going to head inside and have some lunch before I come back out and do some more work out here in the garden. I hope you are all doing well. I send all my love and I will see you again in the next video. Bye guys.